Assalamu alaikum. This is Bilal Khan from Toronto, Canada for another episode of Issues in Focus, Revolution Observer's weekly webcast analyzing some of today's most pressing world affairs. Joining me today is my fellow analyst, Mustafa Mustaan. On the 24th of November, the Loya Jirga in Afghanistan, a body composed of 2,500 tribal leaders, elders, and other influential figures from the country, voted in favor of a security pact with the U.S. With the U.S. combat mission ending in 2014, the pact will permit the U.S. to station its forces in Afghanistan, as well as play a critical role in training the Afghan security forces. For an in-depth understanding of this issue and how it affects Afghanistan, welcome Mustafa. Assalamu alaikum Mustafa, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam, alhamdulillah, how about you?
Alhamdulillah. Mustafa, can you offer our listeners some detail into the security pact? What does it entail? I understand it permits the U.S. some additional powers. Can you shed some light into this as well? And how long is this pact expected to last?
The main thing about this is that the U.S. wants to have 9 bases in Afghanistan, and because of these bases, the U.S. wants to have those conditions attached to it, so they are allowed there. For example, the major part of this is that one of the pacts, part of this pact is that their soldiers will not be prosecuted in Afghanistan if found guilty of any wrongdoing. At the same time, they would be allowed to enter any Afghan home. When I'm saying Afghan home, it has a significant meaning. So if they are allowed to go into the houses of Afghanis, especially Pashtuns, who would not allow someone to look into their house, let alone entering to their house in the middle of the night and search their women and children and everyone. So they would be allowed this with this pact. Why it is important to have it? Because they want to have no resistance to their bases, as these bases are really important for their stay in the region. First of all, their main focus is over their competitors like international competitors like China and Russia. Their influence in Central Asia. So they want to challenge the influence of Russia over Central Asia, which is a resourceful region. And then Afghanistan is really important for that. At the same time, they want to weaken these countries, so they fight in their own regions, not to come out of their regions and challenge U.S. and other parts of the world.
Well,
Sorry
then. Then can you explain to us how this pact is significant? I mean, why Afghanistan? Is it because of Afghanistan's geostrategic position in that it borders, South Asia, Central Asia?
Yeah, Afghanistan, as Russians were calling it, the heart of the Asia. It's really important for connecting the pieces of this region. For example, South Asia will never be able to get connected to Central Asia. At the same time, if any changes happen in the Muslim world, the Muslims of the East will not be able to get connected to the West side, like the Middle East. They will, so this is a really central part, and that's why it was designed to be such a country. So this would be a buffer zone between the powers to get in. Now, for US to get into this area, it is really important to control the region. So I was speaking about the Central Asia and how to have the influence over this area and how to extract the resources from there, because this is a shortcut for it. And at the same time, over the largest populations of the Muslims on the other side, especially Pakistan, where the people are, the US is watchful of them really much. So Afghanistan is really important for them.
Well, considerable attention has been given to the fact that approval was just given by the Loya Jirga. For those of us who are unfamiliar, how significant is the Loya Jirga to Afghan politics? Does it represent the entirety of Afghanistan's political entities?
Well, if you look at the history of Loya Jirga is not something Islamic, but it's more of traditional. When it goes to the tradition of Afghanistan, Loya Jirga has its significance. because whenever it decides, it becomes a really meaningful thing into Afghan politics, because it has acceptance of the whole Afghan population. So now, when it comes to normally you would look into other countries, the parliament will decide on something, or the government will decide and the people will accept it. But when it comes to Afghanistan, it's loya jirga. Even though we have parliament, which is the so-called representatives of the people who are voted to come in, loya jirga is quite different. The people are coming as representative over here, but still it has a significance. And in the history, you would see Afghans in every era have used it. The kings and the presidents have used it. Even the communists used it. So it has a significant importance, and that's why during the Karzai regime and under the occupation of the Western occupation of Afghanistan, this is the fourth or fifth time that they are using this entity to enforce their deals upon the people of Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. And then, can you also explain to us as to why Hamid Karzai is hostile towards this bill? I mean, are his rejections of any significance?
Well, in the past, we had deals with such kind of pacts with like British India, and at the same time, we had it with the Russia or USSR. So we had them, but these deals and pacts were not signed upon a representative body, which is Loya Jirga of Afghanistan, and they didn't have such a thing, and it was like just used after the name of those kings or the president who signed them. But when it comes to this time, Hamid Karzai is going away. Anything signed by Hamid Karzai would have a significance, but it's not guaranteed. So what to make it guaranteed is the Loya Jirga.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why they are trying to bring Loya Jirga in. And Hamid Karzai wants to show that, oh, I'm the good guy. I disagree with it. I leave it. People wants it. I want it. So the main thing, but you can see how clearly he plays the games. Like the first day of the signing of the start of the Jirga, he instead of mentioning the entrance of the house, like entering the houses of the people, or the immunity, the judicial immunity to the soldiers, he says, no, I have to sign it after the elections, not before the elections. So he directly shifts the focus of the people from what is in it to the something which is not even relevant, whether you sign it now or later. So this is a game. Actually, he is trying to, if I have the leverage of saying what he is doing, he is trying to fool the people, and he is quite successful in that.
It's quite apparent that there is opposition to this pact from within Afghanistan, especially from the Taliban. How will the U.S. Deal with this? I recall that the mainstay of the Taliban's support has come from the south of Afghanistan, particularly from the Pashtun people. What are your comments on this?
Well, I will change this question to this way: how the Jirga was formed, then you will understand where the support comes from and where the opposition comes from. The main problem with this is that in the past we had these Jirgas, and these Jirgas would come and sign whatever the government wants it, and they decide upon what the government wants it. Why? Because the government has the authority who to bring into the Jirga, because they want to show their policy supported by the people. However, they are not sincere to the people. So now, ask the provincial governors to send representatives from your province. Now, who do you send? Send me those who are not opposing this this specific program that I'm having from this outcome that I want to have this from this Jirga. So now they are picking those people from this area, every village or the district of the province, and they will bring these people into the Jirga. Now these Jirgas are formed out of committees. They are having committees and subcommittees. Each committee has a chair. These chairs should not be religious and should not be opposing to the program. What if, for example, if they had a mistake in bringing someone who is opposing the deal, specifically this pact, they would not come into the leadership of the committee, because if they become to the leaders or the chairs of the committee, they would be able to influence the decision of the committee. At the same time, they would be able to speak about it, and they don't want to bring up anything like that. So that's why they didn't allow any religious person or those who are opposing this pact. So now this is how this is formed. Now if you see this, can you imagine, would the people of Afghanistan send such representatives who would deal like this? Every representative who is coming to this is paid in thousands of dollars. So if someone wants to be paid in the future again, he would not oppose this. Now, if someone is deciding based on the money or the bribe that they are given, do they represent the people? And if they are not representing the people, would the people support them in the future? Yeah, this we are like in Afghanistan, like every other Muslim country, we are oppressed, and this thing is shown as this is Afghani, and all of the Afghan people are accepting this. But in the reality, if the people were supporting this government or any of their programs, then why the 80% of the country is fighting back?
This has been a significant week for the U.S. in that it signed or had achieved two key regional breakthroughs. First is the Security Pact in Afghanistan, and also the Iran nuclear deal, both of which they achieved at roughly the same time. The U.S. is essentially cementing its presence here for the long term. Can you explain to our listeners the implications this presence will have, not only for Afghanistan, but I mean potentially the region in general, for example, Pakistan?
I will explain the scenarios which I'm looking into Afghanistan, and I'm thinking of it. They are possible that the US will go with them, and then we will see how much it will affect the people. If they quickly go by any government, but I go about the people. That's what I care about. So they are having three plans for Afghanistan, and if you look into what they are doing and they have done to other countries, you will clearly see what they are doing to Afghanistan. First of all, they are the people of Afghanistan, so those few people who are supporting this, they think the US is going to develop us like Japan or Germany or South Korea. But while we don't understand, the realities differ in these countries in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is mostly like Somalia. Like if you have the pact, it will not affect anything. If we do not have the pact, they will make our situation as worse as Somalia. But if we have the pact, we will be like Ethiopia. What is the difference between Ethiopia having this pact and not having this pact? Now, this is the main thing. The second thing is three outcomes. Even if we sign this pact, there are three possibilities. First of all, they will develop the country. But while you look at the intentions of the United States, you don't think this is practical. They will not develop the country, because the people of this region have always come out, as it's famous about Afghanis, that you can rent them, but you cannot buy them. So at any moment they can go against you, and they will not stay loyal as the people of South Korea or Japan or others. So Afghanis will go against it. At Afghanistan is developed, this will be not like at any moment they will go out of them, and they will not be able to control it. The second thing about this is, so what I'm saying is that the US will not want to develop Afghanistan. The second thing about this is they would keep Afghanistan as is. Why? Because right now the benefit of the US government or the corporations who are running the government through the Iron Triangle, they in Afghanistan it's beneficial for them. First of all, during the war industry of the US is running, so it's profitable for them. The second thing is the opium industry is while the foreign troops, especially the American troops, are involved in the transportation of the drugs, it's quite profitable for them. It's like around $1 billion per year of income for them. The third is the uranium, like in the whole of Afghanistan, especially the Helmand province. The whole of Helmand province, there's a war, but around the uranium mine, you do not have any kind of activities, because it's quite secure. So it's quite profitable for them. And there are other resources which is really important for the future, especially the lithium and others. So if you keep Afghanistan as is, you will be able to extract them with low cost. And the last one is, if any of these didn't work, what they will do would be they will divide the country, and they will have some portion of it with them, and leave the rest of it like Somalia in bad situation, to show to the world, like South Korea and North Korea. Look, North Korea is suffering and South Korea is developing, so they want to show that, oh, if you are staying with, at that time they will try to show that if you are staying with the US, you will be developed. If you are not staying with the US, you will be like Somalia, like Ethiopia, North Korea. So these are the three possibilities. What affects the people of the region is significant, because if you have the war over here, Pakistan is going to be affected, Central Asia is going to be affected, the Muslim as overall would be affected, and then this is quite damaging for the Ummah.
And finally, any concluding thoughts, statements before we wrap up the show?
In my view, first of all, the people of Afghanistan should understand about what's happening in Okinawa and also in South Korea or Ethiopia and other places. The second thing is, I'm not so much worried about this pact being signed, because as long as you see that 80% of the people are standing against this government, this regime cannot stay longer. And if Russia could not stay in this country, even though it was neighboring us, or the British India could not come to conquer Afghanistan, even though it was staying over there for 300 years in our neighborhood, and nobody can stay here, especially the US, to come over here. And they have already had a tremendous loss in this. And by the end of the regime, this pact is gone anyways. So we will have it. But the only problem I have with this is, like, the Afghan people should know that there is no benefit to them. This is just to fool them and to make their stay a bit longer, and try to make look that Afghans are fighting against Afghans, while this is not the case. And the second thing is, actually, Afghans, like those representatives over there who came, they actually signed a deal which allows anyone to enter their homes and do whatever they want. When I say whatever, Afghani knows what it means, because right now this is happening to Afghanis. So Afghanis should stand against this, and then this pact should not be signed, which would be a historical bad stamp for the dignity of Afghanis.
Well, Jazakallah khair. We will conclude the show on that note. Thank you, Mustafa, for joining us today, and thank you to our audience for tuning into Issues in Focus this week. We strongly encourage you to post your questions and comments on our Facebook page, and to engage with us on Twitter. Feel free to reach out to any of our analysts. You will find their contact details on our website, revolutionobserver.com. Thanks again. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.